Now, a few hours after those comments, the president went on what Mediaite described as a Truth Social posting bender. Alex Corson, our EP, said it was like War and Peace without the peace. It was very long, which began with the president lashing out at right-wing podcasters who had criticized him this week over threats to wipe out the Iranian civilization. In a 485-word post, the president went after Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owen, and Alex Jones. The president called them low IQ, nut jobs, and troublemakers. He also called them losers who were just trying to latch onto MAGA for publicity. And the social media rant comes after both Owens and Jones called for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who also called for the 25th Amendment to be invoked, defended those podcasters on social media, writing that they all helped to get the president elected and adding that they didn't change. He did.
All right, so let's bring in senior writer at The Dispatch and a columnist at Bloomberg Opinion, David Drucker. David, we've heard, I think from the far right, there's a call for the 25th Amendment. Some Democrats as well have been messaging that. Also with us, we have Politics Bureau Chief, or maybe we don't because it just went away. It looks like Jay Mart might be. We have Jay Mart on the road.
Jay Mart is on the road. And you know, Drucker, when Jay Mart's on the road, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There he is.
He's got fireworks going on there.
It is a fire alarm
Are you
issue.
okay there?
Well, I think he's actually it's a late night disco ball. He takes it around with him wherever he goes. So, Jay Mart, we'll go back to you in 1 second. He's got Casey and the Sunshine Band going on behind him. We'll get back to him in 1 second. David Drucker, we do talk an awful lot about the fact that you've got to look at the MAGA base and you got to look at these podcasters. I've got to say though, with podcasters that have millions and millions of followers, and a lot of them, most of them voted for Donald Trump. I say, especially Megyn Kelly's continued
forceful and really spot on,
compelling concerns about what the president has done regarding Iran, especially the threats. I'm wondering if you're starting to hear any concern from Republicans if we're still where we were a couple of weeks ago, where you have the right-wing podcasters and then you've got everybody else in MAGA world. Where are you right now, now that this seems to have a certain crescendo quality to it?
Yeah, a lot to unpack there, Joe. And by the way, I thought the technical difficulties with Jay Mart was that he was at some breakfast joint. I really need to find out what he was eating. Look, yeah. I think that what's very interesting about the president's tirade, and of course, how many times has he gone on one of these benders, is that it's all personal, right? He didn't criticize Owens or Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly for stoking anti-Semitism, for being anti-Semitic in Owens' case, for sure. It's all because they're angry at him. It's all because they're criticizing him. He's brought figures like this along with him, and he's accommodated their sometimes very outlandish, wacky views, and never said that it wasn't welcome within the party. But when they turn on him, now they're idiots who are not welcome in the party. And I think that's a real important distinction to make. And then you're dealing with the podcasters and their content, which in many cases has been anti-Semitic, has been conspiratorial, but they clearly do speak for a subset of voters who supported the president because they didn't think that he would get the U.S. involved in a conflict like this in the Middle East. And so then we look at the politics of this and we wonder, after a month plus, right, we're just about to close out week 6, have things begun to change at all politically? And I don't think that things have really changed politically vis-a-vis support for the war among Republican voters, right? I still think the president has the broad support of Republican voters, and particularly, voters who self-identify as MAGA. But I think one of the things we're learning is that voters that self-identify as MAGA aren't necessarily the podcast listener that were so crucial to the president's reelection in 2024. These are people that really sort of joined up with the right because they, took issue with the Biden administration. They took issue with how COVID was handled and all sorts of reasons. And these are the people that are a little bit that have, become skeptical of the president's leadership. Ultimately, Republicans are in trouble in 2026 because of underlying economic discontent, and the focus and the investment in the Iran war is just another big example that they're not getting what they want from the president on that front.
J-Mart, elections are won on the margins. We're in a 50-50 country usually. But, man, that margin's getting a lot bigger when you look at the numbers of people that listen to Joe Rogan, who's definitely been harshly critical of the president's immigration policies in Iran. Megyn Kelly, who day after day after day not only questions what Donald Trump is doing, but what Fox News is doing. You look at Tucker Carlson, obviously. They all have massive audiences. And again, it's not just when they go live. It's those YouTube views. You look at the numbers of YouTube views of Megyn Kelly or Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson. Those things are massive, and they live out there forever. Talk about the impact this is having.
Joe, the clips move on social media across platforms, and people who otherwise aren't listeners or viewers of those shows do catch 30-second snippets on social, whether it's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I know this for a fact from my own family. They're not listening to Rogan, Tucker, or Megyn, but they get fed some of those clips via the algorithm on social media. So their impact is even more outsized because of the nature of today's information ecosystem. Your point about the margins is critical. Both parties in this country, because we have a two-party system, so they got to fold everybody into, below those two tents. And so both parties are coalition parties. Well, here's what's happening in the Republican Party. The sort of factions on the either extreme of the party. So the Alex Jones on one front, the real, a winger, as they would say, conspiratorial types, are dissatisfied with Trump because of the Iran decision. All right. Then you've got the other extreme of the party, which is the pre-Trump party. Never liked him in the first place. Finds his conduct really embarrassing, but basically has sort of grinned and bear it because they couldn't vote for Democrats every 4 years in the general. I think he's at risk, Joe, of losing those two factions this fall, in part because they will stay home on one hand, and also some of them will just vote for a Democrat to send a message this fall. And that's a big challenge for the Republican Party. They always have a hard time in midterms these days anyways, getting their folks out when Trump's not on top of the ticket. And when you add to that this dissatisfaction with those two wings, polar opposite wings of the party, boy, that leaves a lot of people that they need, Joe, to your point, because the margins are what drives these elections. And if you take out those two factions, Katie, bar the door.
Yeah, and you talk about mainstream media. We're going to be reading Peggy Noonan's Wall Street Journal column in a bit. I just want to, though, to your point, I want to read a line or two from Peggy's latest, talking about Donald Trump's posts over the Holy Weekend. She said, I want to talk about why they were so horrifying. They constituted hitting a new bottom, a new and infernal face lit by flames bottom in world communications. The posts were sinister. You destabilize the world when, as an American president, you say such things. And she goes on, and she says at the end, all these people, they're saying, oh, it's just Trump being Trump, and you don't understand how he negotiates. She said, no, please. These things matter. And you're being childish and babyish if you're suggesting that they don't. David Ignatius.